I'll bet if you clicked on this video, you are tired of dating avoidants, narcissists, people who either love bomb and leave or they breadcrumb and disappear. You get burned out on the same patterns. And trust me, when someone is showing you the same anxiety-inducing behaviors again and again and again, it is not a phase. It is a pattern. If they dismiss you when you're upset, they play hot and cold, if they say they care but they're never really there for you, it's not just a rough patch, it's their emotional unavailability. And for people with a traumatic past, it is dangerously easy to stick around and begin to justify their behaviors. And the real problem is it can be challenging to spot these red flags in others before you get in too deep. But there is one great way to spot someone who's about to avoid you, and it's probably not what you think. So if you are ready to learn the biggest red flag of avoidant love, then grab that bottle of nail polish because we are going to identify it right now. We see a lot of stories online where people are being dumped or ghosted, and a lot of them ask the same question. Was the person I was seeing avoidant, or were they simply uninterested? But to a certain extent, who cares? Because regardless of their issue, they're all going to end up avoiding you. Just for example, if you are unknowingly dating an avoidant attacher who fears commitment, and you ask for commitment, they end up avoiding you. Or let's say you're dating someone who's not really interested, and if you try to prod the relationship forward, they end up avoiding you. At the end of the day, the net result is the same. I have a longtime viewer, Jason. Hi, Jason. He expressed the frustration that everyone in the dating scene seems to be out for themselves, and that's why it is so hard to find someone to be with you for the rest of your life. And it is true. There are a lot of people out there who are going to be willing to use you as a stepping stone until they get everything in this life they think they want. But I feel like for a lot of us, especially if we struggle with our own self-image, it is super hard for us to tell the difference between someone who is centered and has a healthy autonomy and someone who consumes people for their own conceited benefit. And yeah, they do display patterns, but there is definitely one telltale red flag in identifying people who are not going to be good for you. The biggest red flag to look out for is the behavioral pattern they bring out in you. The biggest risk when you put yourself out into the dating world is that for quite some time, we don't really know the other person sitting across from us at the table, and that's not going to change. That's dating. So the safest bet is to get to know yourself really, really well, because your patterns are about to reveal their patterns. Let me give you a personal example. One of my patterns where I realized if I found myself doing this, it was not going to end well, is if I had to text the guy the next day after the date to tell him I had a good time because I hadn't heard from him. And maybe it's a bit old-fashioned, but I feel like if a guy has a good time and he's interested, he's naturally going to be texting the woman the next day to say that he had fun. And that's not chasing on the man's part. That is courting and pursuing. And it does feel good. It was like a breath of fresh air when guys finally started pursuing me and I wasn't filling in the gaps, always reaching for them. Another pattern that people reveal in you that might tell you the end is near is you feel like you have to wait to text them because you feel like if you time it wrong, they won't respond, or at least they won't respond very favorably. Other patterns that red flag relationships reveal in you, you start to feel like they can wait to see you. Please do not get this confused with someone who does have healthy autonomy and a full life, because with people like this, even if they are busy and they don't know exactly which day they can see you yet, they have an energy that tells you that they're looking forward to it. And you do have a bit more of a secure feeling. Another red flag pattern that people can reveal in you is you can already tell they're not going to show up even if you guys have plans. You feel in your gut that whenever you text to confirm the plans, they're going to use that text as an excuse to bail. People can play so many games before they ever even meet you. And one of the modern scenarios that drives me nuts is, for example, you make a date with someone for 2 days from now, and then you get busy with your own life. But then when you text them to confirm, maybe the day of the date, they say, well, I didn't hear from you for 2 days, so I assumed you weren't interested and I made other plans. Yeah, they think they're in control, but this is really an insecure person who has been completely brainwashed by bad advice because it's super rude. But you can also see how it reveals their fear. They're probably doing that and they're taking that advice because they were tired of being burned so many times trying to meet up with people in the past. So these people do feel like they're taking control. It's going to end up costing them good relationships because secure people don't act like this. They don't even think like this. And behavior like this is going to have secure people thinking like, oh, that's a little weird or that's a little rude. And they're not even going to give them the offer of a second date. They're just going to move on to the next. You don't have to allow fear to pull the plug preemptively on your relationships. All you have to do is trust in your own pattern of showing up when you say that you will. If you have a pattern of showing up, your pattern will quickly reveal the patterns of the people who won't. People who blow you off also reveal a pattern that I'm sure you have experienced. It's feeling disappointed by someone really early on. Try not to let this ignite the follow-up pattern of trying even harder to get this person to care. The thing is, when you do feel comfortable and centered in yourself, petty games like this won't bother you as much because you're just glad to know the information right off the bat. They revealed these things early. How wonderful. So much time saved. And you move on. Here's a pattern that drove me nuts, and it always ended with me getting the boot. And it was, if I wanted to see them, I always had to be the one to expend the energy or the gas driving to meet them wherever they were. Yeah, no thank you, never again. When people bring out all of your anxious patterns, it zaps so much of your precious energy. And when you begin to finally just get comfortable allowing these people who make you so uncomfortable to fade out of your life, that's how you know you're going in the right direction. I talk a lot on this channel about the day I sat down and painted my nails and decided to do everything differently. I was so tired of feeling embarrassed chasing after people who went out of their way to teach me that I was not important to them. And while, yeah, I certainly made a list of all the things those people had in common, I also began to make a list of common behavioral patterns I would begin to display in those relationships. Patterns that told me if I started to do these things, the relationship was ultimately doomed. If I found myself double texting, if I found myself convincing someone they would have so much fun on a date with me, or convincing someone to go on a second date with me, yeah, you can see why this started to become so embarrassing, right? It meant that we were gonna break up, because in all of these scenarios, these guys that broke up with me, I would have sworn to you that I never saw it coming. But now I see the biggest pattern that could have told me the situationship was doomed is that in every situation I was chasing after someone who in some way had already rejected me. That was my biggest pattern. Even if we were still in the relationship together, they would consistently disappoint me to show me that I wasn't a priority. And then I started trying to win their love. Now, this pattern did not start in my adult relationships. I have a video called, Of Course Your Partner Abandoned You. Just look at your avoidant parents. And it talks about how growing up with dysfunction never gave you a chance at healthy love. And I will link that video at the end of this one. See, the people that I was in these relationships with, their bad behavior revealed my pattern of staying no matter what. And I think that I had this romanticized idea of loyalty, but the reality was so much darker. I stayed because I had been wired to believe that I didn't have a choice. I believed that as myself, just Maria, all alone, I am insignificant. When it's just me, I am worth nothing. And this idea that you are nobody without an abusive partner is as false of a notion as believing that looking good will magically solve all of your problems. Well, welcome to the other half, where we know attraction is not just about looks. We also need to take care of the inner half. Because when we believe that we are nothing, we fall into an anxious trap of rushing to be with someone forever and putting so much pressure on ourselves to find them right now. And we believe that we will find them through watching every podcast we can with a former CIA agent telling you the number one thing that a narcissist says. You're never going to get what you want, because look how it still puts all the focus. It's still all about the other person and what they are and are not doing. When is it going to be about you? Not just your red flag patterns, the things about you that you enjoy. What do you like in your weekly schedule? What do you like about your job? What are things that you can genuinely offer in your relationships, all of your relationships, friendships, family? But if you have a history of not being allowed to listen to yourself, you might not even know any of this stuff. And it's so important. Getting to know myself has helped me more in relationships. It has helped me more in finding partners who actually align with who I am at my core than learning 5 signs of an avoidant ever did. And no, we don't want to be naive, and learning red flags is important. But if you go through this life letting other people tell you who you are and tell you your value, if these are people who do not have your best interest at heart, that's when the situation becomes dangerous. They'll convince you that you are worth so little that you're terrified to leave. You'll be alone. And without someone else, who the heck are you? You know? That's why it's important to answer that question before you jump in with other people. And, you know, Jason had another concern that he pointed out about how hard it is to find someone to be with for the rest of your life. Well, Jason, here's the thing. You're going to live your life whether someone else is there or not. And it's this idea of for the rest of your life that is the thing that's anxiety inducing, and it's not even realistic, and I'll tell you how I know that. Jason, from your photo in the comments, you look like you're a lot younger than me, so I'm just letting you know, you're gonna hit an age where despite everything you do to try to take good care of yourself, you're gonna have mornings where you wake up with aches and pains for no good reason. And number one, yeah, it's highly offensive. But number two, it also chips away at that youthful bliss, that feeling of immortality. Your perspective is gonna start to change on a few things. Like for me, I never cared about my partner's diet until we both got to an age where suddenly you're not just ignoring those Bayer aspirin heart attack commercials, and you realize something could happen to one of us, and I'm going to have to live my life, whether he's there or not. So it's time to buckle up and have a plan and life goals and missions that don't involve anyone else. And funnily enough, Jason, that's usually when you find somebody. I cannot tell you over the years how many married friends or family members I talked to where they found the person they were looking for exactly when they were not looking for it, because they were busy doing things they enjoyed. And you might be surprised how attractive you look when you're having a good time. Because have you ever seen someone who always seems serious and suddenly they burst out into a smile or they crack a joke and reveal a little bit more of their personality? It's memorable and it's attractive because getting to know people slowly is fun. Don't think of it as the rest of your life. We get anxious when we're faced with a scenario we've never really experienced or been able to overcome. So especially if you have trouble keeping relationships, the rest of your life thing, yeah, it does seem impossible. And dictating the entire rest of your life from your living room couch is impossible. It's good to plan for the future, but try not to put so much weight on one specific end result. And start with what's going on in your life today. Just start with today. Take the focus off of people that you cannot control and start with you. Start writing down your patterns, because although it can be helpful to learn the 5 major patterns of psychopaths, it is incredible how many patterns we repeat and we don't even realize it. But identifying them will answer so many questions that you have about why you keep getting in too deep with the exact wrong people. Jason, don't lose hope. Don't get down. Pattern it up. And if you want to know why you never had a chance to find healthy love, I'll put that video right here. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting The Other Half.